Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the live stream of the EIP-2362 public demo hosted by the Alliance of Decentralized Oracles. What's this Alliance of Decentralized Oracles, or ADO? This alliance has a clear mission, which is enabling smart contracts creator to use decentralized oracles through plug and play standard interface and protocols, so that they can have the freedom to use whatever oracle provider they want, and to choose from to change from one to another without any barriers, so that they can find the oracles that best serve their contract and that best adapt to the trade-offs and to their requirements in many different aspects. So who's in this alliance? Basically, the Alliance of Decentralized Oracles is an open task force. There's no SAGNAP or approval procedure whatsoever. So every single decentralized Oracle project is more than welcome to join this conversation. Mainly, we organize mainly through a Telegram group and also through Zoom calls like this one, and they are open to everyone to join. So some of these projects, the ones that have been the most engaged, are hosting this call today. I will look, what we can do is that each of us will have like a 1 minute thing to quickly explain what we do and what we are working together. So if, from Band Protocol, I think it's Paul talking.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Super happy to be here. Again, my name is Paul. I'm a CPO at Band Protocol, right? So let me talk about Band Protocol a little bit. Band Protocol is, which I'm going to read off the screen here. Band Protocol is a cross-chain data oracle platform that aggregates and connects real-world data to smart contracts. And we does that by having our own blockchain, which we implement on Cosmos SDK. We call it BandChain, right? The way that it works is that when a user wants to request a data, the smart contract relay the request to the BandChain, and then of all the validators, right? We select a randomized set of validators to do the data aggregation and the data request from off-chain, and record the data back to the blockchain. And by having that design, we now have the result recorded on our blockchain, which we send those data for smart contract to use using live client verification or IBC protocol. That means our Oracle design can bundle everything in terms of result in just one simple smart contract transaction, which makes Band Protocol very fast and very easy to use. We support both private and public data point as well as payment as well. In terms of flexibility and in terms of adaptability to multiple kind of APIs, we support pretty much any API on Earth. Right? So notably, we support DeFi price feed, spot data for prediction market, and random number generator, and essentially all the open and private API out there.
Cool. Time for iExec.
Yeah, hello. So I'm Hadrian from iExec. iExec is basically a decentralized marketplace and network where users can trade computing resources, off-chain resources. So requesters are able to run off-chain computation using secure datasets in a secure computing environment. These requesters can be people like you and me from our laptops, but a smart contract can also be a requester. And this means that iExec provides an interoperability layer for smart contract to access the off-chain world. This can be done to do computation, of course, but also to return data from the Web2 or from outside the Ethereum ecosystem. So oracles are obviously an evident use case for iExec, but we are not limited to oracles. It's basically anything that can run in a Docker container we can run it in our network and provide attested results back to the blockchain.
Cool. Tella?
Hey guys, you guys can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so hi guys, I'm Nick Fett from CTO of Teller. We're a decentralized Oracle on Ethereum. The way that Teller works, it's a little bit different. We have a crypto economic Oracle where we have staked miners who compete at a proof of work challenge to submit pricing data onto Ethereum. We're mainly built for kind of slow, high value data, mainly pricing data for DeFi at the moment. And we're excited to kind of partner with the rest of Auto because it's really just going to help Teller and all of these other guys actually be able to provide secure values for the space. So thanks.
So, okay, Winnet Protocol is basically a protocol for allowing a network of independently operated computers to act as an abstract decentralized oracle to retrieve, attest, deliver, basically bringing data into smart contracts in a way that is tamper resistant through incentivization and through basically crypto economic guarantees, making sure that the nodes are liable for relaying the data reliably and not tampering with that data. So moving on into the thing that is bringing us together today, which is the first collaborative project of the ADO. I hope it's the first of many, which is the Ethereum Improvement Proposal 2362, which is a standard interface for price feed oracles. There you have the URL for the proposal itself. It's quite short, quite eloquent, and I think it's interesting because it enables a crazy amount of things in very little amount of lines. I think Adrian from iExec wanted to share a little more about how the process has been for coming with a proposal and why it looks like it looks right now.
Yeah, sure. So I think the genesis of this collaboration was the realization that previous EIP-1154 was not really used, and there were many reasons for that. One of the reasons is that 1154 wanted to be too generic in the sense that it was supposed to be a generic way to access any Oracle data. And this was not working because each of our project has their own internal structure, is our own internal definition, and the way you construct a query on one of our network is not valid on another one. So even if you add a single entry point, the way to construct query identifiers would be different, and this would be a limitation to interoperability between our contracts. What we did instead with this ERC-2062 is something that we started working on at iExec pretty early, but through a different interface. It's the idea that when you are querying for a value, you are not querying for the result of a specific run, but you are querying for a meaning, something that makes sense to you. For example, when you want the price of Ethereum in US dollars, you don't really care how it got back to the blockchain, what internal mechanism was used by either of our project. What you want is a value that makes sense to you that you can exploit in your DeFi application. And this is where we realized that what would make a lot of sense would be an interface where you can just query for an identifier that expresses this meaning and retrieve a value with a timestamp that is basically what you're expecting for. And so this is why the interface in 2362 is just a simple function, iterative function called value for. You give it an identifier and you get some result, which is somehow similar to an HTTP query in the sense that it's a triplet that contains obviously the value, but also a timestamp and a status code. And the status code could be used because some of the system might be offline, or you might not have a value that is recent enough, or the value might be compromised. So you want to show that errors could also happen in one of our systems, which will be beneficial when you kind of aggregate our different systems. once we agreed on basically that value for our interface, the only thing that we needed is to agree on the structure of the keys. How do you provide meaning to these interfaces? And so this is, I think, the most important part of this EIP is basically starting up a kind of a standard on how to express meaning about price values in Oracle systems. And so basically the idea is that the meaning is an aggregate of words. So in our case, like for example, price minus ETH slash USD minus 3 or dash 3, and basically take this as a string, hash it, and get unique identifier. And so while we just have a few values that are part of the standards right now, the idea is that it's expandable ad infinitum, basically. So any meaning that you want to add in terms of, it could be prices, but it could also be weight or whatever you would like, should be able to be expressed through this mechanism. And so compatible Oracle can be built on top of that. So yeah, so all the details about how it was structured, it was constructed are in the EIP. So I just gave you a basic idea. Feel free to read the EIP, comment on it, obviously, and be part of the alliance.
Yeah, I think Nick can do like a little demo on how the interface look like and how to integrate into contracts and a couple more things.
Sure thing. So yeah, I'll start sharing my screen.
Okay.
Yeah, so all right, I think everybody, you guys should be able to see my screen here. So the first thing, I can just show you what Hadrian was talking about for the interface. So despite all of the chat and the big meeting, it's literally just this line of code, which is the value for line. So it takes an ID, which he was talking about, we were standardizing, and then it returns the value, a timestamp, a Unix timestamp, and then a status code. So then in your specific application, you can decide kind of how you want to handle the various status codes or even the timestamps. If you need it to be updated within the last hour, within the last day, it really allows you to do a bunch of different things. And then also in the EIP document, we have the standardizations like he was talking about. So we just have 2 up there right now. The way that it works, it's a price, dash, it's ETH US dollar, and then there's 3. So this is the number of decimal places in there. And then you just take the hash. So as you can see, you can expand it to everything. But that's basically it for kind of what the EIP does. And then we have a little bit more specifications on what exactly each of the things return. But I'll let you guys kind of read that. Now, some of the things that you can do with it. So this is one of the things that we're really excited about with the auto is the fact that you can now easily just put this into your smart contract, and you can have not only just one oracle, you can have multiple different oracles very, very easily. You can start with one oracle and you can switch to another whenever they launch or add some new feature that you like, and this sort of standardization is really what makes this all possible. So the sample contract that we have up right now, it's up on our GitHub, which is also in the presentation. It's the auto medianizer. So basically, all we're going to be doing in this contract is we have the 4 parties have provided an oracle, and we're going to take the median of the values. So what this allows you to do, you can put this in your own contract. We'll probably work as the auto to come up with a medianizer that we all sort of run and work with, that the projects can easily integrate with if they don't even want to write their own. So we have the adding oracles. So you can be an owner of your function. You can decide, hey, I want Teller and Witnet and iExec and Band, but we don't want anybody else. Or you can say, you could even add them and then add specific weights to them if you would want to weight the pricing for any individual oracle. Obviously, you can remove oracles if one of them goes down or gets hacked. You can easily take them out. Obviously, viewing which ones that are there is important. And then this is kind of just how easy the value for function is. So now if you have, say, a derivatives contract, that settles to a price. Now all you need to do is look at the auto medianizer contract and say, go get the value for this identifier, and it's going to return you back the value that's the median of these 4 different decentralized oracles, as well as a timestamp and a status code. And right here is kind of the money line. This is where it loops through the 4 different oracles that we have stored, and then it's going to return their values, and it's going to check that the status code is, we're using HTTP status codes. If it's in the 200s, that's a good status code. And then we're going to get the median and return the median value. It's relatively straightforward, but you know, what this would have looked like before the EIP would have just been awful, because every single project would have a different function. And then if you wanted to add other ones, you'd have to add some sort of upgradability into the contract, and it just, to kind of specify, you know, all of the different things. So this makes it much easier to show you it in action. I know this is just riveting for you guys. We can, so this is the Rinkeby contract that we launched. If you have test contracts out on Rinkeby and want to use it, let us know. But right now, like I said, we have the 4 different Oracle addresses. You can click on them. The code's all verified there. And then what you can do is you can plug in the ID. So we'll go over here. We can grab the ID string from the EIP, plug it in, and then yeah, there you go. So all right, so up to 3 decimal places. ETH is a nice $182. So go Ethereum. Returns a timestamp in there, and then just for good measure, you know, if nothing breaks in a demo, it's bad. We'll try the other one as well. So, and then yeah, Bitcoin price as well, just a little over 7,000 right now. So you can see it's a nice, easy method. Once again, these are sort of for poll oracles, so you can right now just use it. You know how you pay for them or how you make sure that the oracles are updating is sort of abstracted away from this, which makes it really easy for users to sort of just start using it. But yeah, I think the next steps with kind of this demo, or if anyone is actually interested in using the auto, we would love to kind of know what prices that you guys want to see up here. We want to know, you know, what things we can start supporting, so you guys can start testing it out in your actual applications. You know, I think that's whenever you have these pieces available, such as, you know, an EIP and a bunch of different actually decentralized oracles that are all providing prices, then it really just limits your excuses for kind of using a centralized oracle or just placing the value in there yourself. You know, we're making it easy, and we're making it so anybody can sort of easily implement this into their smart contract. So yeah, that's kind of it for the demo. I can stop sharing and pass the control back to Adon. So thanks, guys.
That was awesome. So basically, what's the current state of these EIP, and how are these days for the ADO? So we jointly drafted the proposal, the EIP-2362, and there are already live implementations on Rinkeby and Goerli, as Nick showcased. Soon, other oracles will also be adopting the EIP. And there's this medianizer contract that Nick showed. It's this ADO medianizer that aggregates BTC USD and ETH USD as sourced from Band Protocol, IXEC, Teller, and Witnet. So when you enter the ID of an asset there, of a price data point, actually you're reading from contracts that rely on those 4 decentralized protocols for resolving the query. And the nice thing is that, yeah, you just in your contract, when you create a contract that uses this EIP, you just import the interface as a dependence. You import that into your contract, and then you do ERC 2362 open the parentheses, and whatever address you put there, if that's an address for a contract that is compliant with this standard, it will work. Okay, so you can enter the address for band, for iExec, for Telo, for Winnet, for whatever of those, it will work. If you enter the address of the medianizer, you get something that will also have better better security properties in terms of the fact that if someone wants to tamper with the data that the medianizer contract, the aggregator contract is giving, they actually need to tamper with multiple networks. And the nice thing is about this space is that different projects took different priorities into account when designing their Oracle mechanisms, and BAN, iExec, Telo, WIDNet, other protocols, they sort of differ quite much in that sense. So it's great because maybe some projects' assumptions are broken for some particular use cases, but others are not. So in this way, we can complement each other, and we can be of great value to the community and to the Ethereum space in this case. So looking forward, the road ahead is looking great, because the first thing we want to do is moving this Ethereum improvement proposal into the Laskal status, so that all the Ethereum community is encouraged to give feedback on the proposal, and to so as to make sure that we are accommodating actually everyone's interest. And then we want to encourage more Oracle projects to adopt and to support this proposal, and so basically for the same reason, for making sure that we can accommodate every single use case, and make sure that we are actually making something that is useful for the people that need it, for the smart contract developers that need price feeds, and also getting other projects, basically Ethereum projects that are based on Ethereum, that not on the side of Oracle's implementing the EIP, but actually clients, let's say users that smart contract developers that will be querying price data through these interfaces for them, like doing some hand holding on how to adopt it, even if it's super easy, as you saw. And finally, like moving the EIP into final status, then we can move into thinking of other interfaces for other type of oracles, because as Nick said, this is right now for prices, and this is right now for pool oracles, in which you read from some data that is already written into the blockchain. So I think it's perfect time for questions. If Thomas wants to, bring the questions from, I think we got questions on the Telegram group and also on YouTube. Okay, bear with us as we gather the questions.
I think he's just posting them. Should we? Do you want to MC the questions, Adon, or you want me to? I can.
Okay, we can go over them. So I'm going up. Okay, 1 second. So Blockchain Brad is asking if the ADOS, EIP, and medianizer approach allows for multiple DeFi oracles to work together for optimal queries and data. Wouldn't this be an ideal choice as opposed to working with only one oracle in the future? What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I can answer it. I think it would just depend. I don't know how you guys feel, but it's, hopefully whenever you're implementing even the auto or, individual oracles, that you'd really be looking into kind of their security mechanisms, and you would pick which ones that you feel comfortable with. You know, there's different trade-offs in terms of speed, security, token distribution. There's a whole lot of things that you can sort of take into consideration. So just using, you know, I would say like right now, like even you may just want to use 3 you only like, or you may like 5, or you may like 7. There's a bunch of different things. Saying that more is better is probably not the case. But, you know, obviously, you know, I think as we've seen kind of in DeFi, oracles can break, or even the ability to push to Ethereum can break for certain periods of time. So, you know, making sure that you have kind of best practices in place in terms of, say, like a fallback, or having something like a medianizer just to kind of handle your security risks is obviously a best practice that I think everyone should look into, or at least having an answer to what would happen. So
yeah,
if I can add something also,
yeah.
Using a medianizer obviously adds some security to some extent, but you also have to be careful when you build synthetics values like that, because for the medianizer, it provides a value that is not a real value coming from anybody. So in some cases, that could be dangerous. Also, the medianizer exposes an ERC-2362 interface. So somehow you could imagine in the future having medianizer or aggregation put on top of each other. And this can construct very complex dependency that might be very powerful, but also dangerous. So when you build your application, you always have to think like, what do I want to use? Like using our simple medianizer for now might be a very simple and way to ensure a decent level of security. But if you're serious about your security, always consider all the implication of all the trust that you had when you build those complex structures.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So this is also for you, Adrian. Technological and Gaming World asks on YouTube, when will there be an app for a exec?
Okay, so I'm not really sure I understand the question. If the question is about our integration to the IDO being like a synthetic one for now, it's because the IDO medianizer is on Ringby, and iExec is not live on Ringby. We are on mainnet on our own sidechain and on Goerli. All our tests are on Goerli. So we didn't redeploy our entire stack to Ringby past week just for this demo. But like when services will be offered through the ADO on Goerli, surely we will join. As for an iExec app, I mean, we've got many features. I mean, we've got our Docker images for the worker to join the network. We've got our many front ends like the Explorer, the Marketplace, the dApp Store, the Data Store. So surely you haven't have a complete look at our stack if that's your question.
That's great. I think there's also a question for Taylor, like how does this play with a 10-minute block time in Tela?
Sure. So I think that would actually be more up to kind of the individual person who's using the auto medianizer as far as what timestamp that they would sort of want to take into play. You know, like right now we have in the auto medianizer, you could say like any price within the last day is valid, or you could say any price within the last hour is valid. It just sort of depends in your specific app how fast you want it updated. You could even in the future, you know, I think some of these medianizer contracts and some of the more secure oracles could be used for things such as like a day average price. So, you know, you could have like a volume weighted price that's pushed on chain, and it doesn't necessarily even have to just be like the last traded price or something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of different things, but I think it would just be up to the user how they feel about that or how they want to implement it.
So then, this is the question we were waiting for. Why Chainlink hasn't joined ADO? And someone else also says, why is Chainlink cautious to join, guys? At this point, at least, I mean, this can only enhance quality and decentralized nature of price data, no? That's a question that one could expect. Okay, basically, tell them to get in here. Okay, There's actually people from Tailing and from other projects that we haven't mentioned today that have joined the conversation, that are in the Telegram group, but only, let's say, at individual level, and they have joined our community calls at some point, and essentially we are stronger together. And this is about making the Oracle space and the smart contract space move forward. So we are trying to build like a new industry. So the more collaboration, the better. And yeah, I think it's a matter of time. Also, there are projects that simply they are, as everyone else in this space, laser focused on what they're doing, and they just some people are just waiting to see how the proposal evolves, how it gets adopted by other people, how it gets received by the community, but they have, let's say, some degree of commitment to adopt whatever there's enough consensus in the community. And I get that that's the position for other projects that are not actively participating just yet. Yeah, we got this other question from Kevin. Great to see projects working together. Will the EIP be implemented across all the projects at the same time?
Probably not. I'm guessing, since Teller sort of already implements it, so we pushed it through, and then yeah, I think it's just going to take time to see a lot of things people adopt, and where kind of whenever we start building out these specific medianizer contracts and getting actual users, I think as soon as there's a user that demands EIP-2362, you'll see a lot of oracles really get on board really quickly. So that's what I look forward to.
Yeah, sometimes the demand creates the offer. So having potential user will force any Oracle provider to adopt this standard if they want to reach this potential market. So I think like in onboarding users of this interface will be very important for the future of this interface.
Another pretty interesting question from Blockchain Brad. If some oracles use a set number of permission nodes, is that something that you consider of or assess if they want to join the ADO? I mean, is there a means to measure what constitutes decentralization enough? That's actually interesting. Yeah, I guess that actually, regardless of who's participating in the ADO, who can be considered a member or whatever, or working in the alliance, the thing is that the interface and the EIP itself can accommodate also centralized oracles. Of course, it's just an interface. Whatever you put in an Ethereum contract that complies with the interface will simply work. So it's, let's say, up to the user to decide which oracles are the ones that suit their needs in terms of cost, latency, security, whatever it's important for them. But the important thing is that this enables doing that, having that freedom. So I don't think there's actually being in the alliance or the great thing if more projects join the alliance is that we will be like everyone's interest will be heard, and that's great. But that in no mean affects how useful is this for the developers. This is already there. This will be moved forward in the EIP process. So this is already useful for the developers from my point of view.
I think it's also a question of it's not only who makes it into the alliance because it's just a Telegram group. It's also who makes it into the official medianizer, if there is such a thing as an official medianizer. And this is a question that we discussed previously before this call. And the medianizer, if you've seen, you could build your own for your project, but maybe some project will just decide to connect to an existing one. And then the question is, what governance do we want for this existing medianizer? And this is a much broader topic of how could we build a community that agrees on what's a decent oracle or not, and say, oh, we are all going to use the same source because we build it as a community. But then it's not for us to decide, it's for a broader audience to decide.
Yeah, that's that's super interesting, because I don't know, for example, from Witnet's point of view, like we believe that there should not be such thing as publicly available data feeds. I mean, from a security perspective, the incentives in Oracle mechanisms need to be super well tailored to the maximum amount of value that will be put into the consuming contracts. So if you operate a public data feed, like if the ADO was to operate the medianizer and open it so that all the projects in Ethereum use a single go-to solution for price feeds, that would be somehow dangerous, because you can get an unlimited amount of value relying on a single data point, which creates like a huge bounty for breaking the mechanisms of the oracles that are behind. A different question is that if you get like this composite thing made of different oracles that have different security properties, for sure that will be safer than using each of them separately. That's so my point is that it's always worth promoting that, like the medianizer contract and similar contracts and examples should be, if relevant projects in the space want to use those, they should sort of deploy their own instance of those contracts instead of free riding the public version, let's say, because otherwise the bounty could get super big.
I think from a security point of view, you're right. Sorry, I'm just taking the discussion because I think we have some time, and I think it's an interesting discussion. But if you have a look at, we discussed about Chainlink earlier, and Chainlink has the same stance as you, saying that anybody can build their own Chainlink with their own security construction. But what happens in reality is that the Chainlink company is operating a kind of medianizer that works in a very different way from ours. But that's somehow similar in the sense that there is an owner and it aggregates values from different providers. Except in the case of Chainlink, it's difficult to access each provider individually. And the power of the one that controls the medianizer can do anything to the contract. It can do censorship. It can modify the value arbitrarily. So from a security point of view, it's always like, yes, basically you should do your own aggregation mechanism depending on your needs. But the reality is that most projects out there use a completely centralized mechanism that has been designed in a decentralized way, but they use it in a centralized way because it's easier for them. And I think this is where maybe we could bring in the community a bit more, saying like, okay, you want something centralized because that's what your behavior shows. Well, you should build it as a community.
Yeah, I want to jump in here too. This is fun now. So I think, kind of talking with the security, I think having just the public contract or some sort of auto contract that we can sort of give as a community to allow people to read these public feeds is going to be powerful, especially for people who sort of want that quick implementation. I think ultimately Adon's right in that each of the projects, which oracles are included in the medianizer or in, whatever mechanism you have for getting that, the governance of that should be owned by the governance of the project. So, whether it's like the maker token holders ultimately own their oracle, or the comp token holders ultimately own their oracle, I think would be the ideal case. But, as you kind of see with maker, even though the maker token holders own their Oracle, a bunch of people just read off of it in Trustmaker anyway, sort of being lazy, you know, even though they could easily deploy their own centralized version of, you know, Maker's Oracle, and it wouldn't take too much effort. So it's, you know, I think having a more decentralized option as a standard, easier way can only benefit the space, but then also encouraging the larger projects to sort of own their own Oracle should be a good thing too.
Yeah, totally. And okay, the people who join through Zoom itself, please, the questions you can send them on the Zoom chat. Okay. So, for example, this is a question from the Zoom chat from SD. He said that Nick said that pushing through Ethereum can be difficult. Will Ado implement threshold signatures as a whole, or does each Oracle need to do that separately?
I think that would be each Oracle. The auto medianizer is just the interface. So for reading them, you sort of expect that the Oracles are going to update on their own. So how they sort of handle themselves during, you know, a Black Thursday type event, it could be very different. And yeah, so I guess the answer would be each Oracle. This is the EIP is just sort of a read-only function, so it only touches things that are already on chain.
Okay, another question from Blockchain Brad about whether we plan to work officially together in a formal way to secure partnerships as the Alliance of Decentralized Oracles, or will we maintain our autonomy as we forge real partnerships ahead?
Yeah, I can touch it. I mean, no, getting people to accept an EIP doesn't necessarily take any formal partnerships. You hope that projects would do that sort of because they see, you know, the future of the space moving in this direction, and other Oracles kind of jumping. So, you know, the benefits of the auto need no sort of formal partnership or anything like that. I think we'd be happy to sort of work together, and the strength of the auto in, you know, let's say a project is thinking about using one of us, you know, a decentralized Oracle, and the benefits of using the EIP in the auto would be, hey, I don't know if your security is quite high enough. How about we use the interface, and then if you guys suck, we can always switch over to somebody else, or we can, you know, medianize you too. We like you both. We can't choose. So I think that might be, you know, how using the EIP might sort of bolster confidence in using one of the decentralized Oracles. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay. I think those are all the questions for now. So thanks everyone for attending. We will be moving forward with the EIP, as we said before. We will keep everyone updated. Please feel free to join the Alliance of Decentralized Oracles group on Telegram. And yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks also to all the projects that we are working together in the ADO. Thanks for the flexibility, for the willingness to cooperate for the good of this ecosystem. So see you next time.
Well, thanks everyone.
Thank you.